There's a kind of frustration that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't felt it. It's not laziness, it's not fear exactly. It's knowing quietly, privately, that you could do something, that you've thought it through, that you're ready. And then the moment comes, and you don't move. You let the conversation pass. You don't send the message. You stay quiet when you meant to speak. Afterward, you replay it. What you should have said. How close you came. And somewhere in that replay, a question forms. Why does this keep happening? Not once, not occasionally. As a pattern. A loop you keep returning to without choosing to. This isn't about discipline or motivation. It's about something more specific and more fixable. You're in a meeting, a conversation, a room. You have something to say. It's not half-formed. You've already run it through your head. You know the words. But you wait for the right moment. And the right moment either doesn't come, or it comes and passes in the half second it takes you to decide if it's right enough. Someone else says something close to your thought. The moment closes. Or this version, something you've wanted to start for months, a project, a conversation you keep putting off. You know what the first step is, and still you find yourself researching a little more, waiting for the conditions to feel more solid. The painful part isn't the hesitation itself, it's the gap, the distance between who you know yourself to be privately and what actually shows up when the moment comes. Most people who feel that gap assume the answer is the same. They just need more confidence. That assumption is exactly wrong. The feeling you're waiting for, that settled, certain sense of readiness, isn't confidence, at least not the kind that does anything. Psychologist Albert Bandura spent decades studying what actually drives behavior, and he was specific about this. Confidence is a vague word. It describes how strongly you believe something, but not what you believe. You can be fully confident that you're going to fail. That's still confidence, it just points the wrong way. What actually moves people is something more grounded. Bandura called it self-efficacy, the belief, built from experience, that you can handle a specific situation. Not a general sense of self-worth, not a mindset shift. A belief your brain assembled from things that actually happened to you. And that belief cannot be thought into existence, it can only come from experience. Of the 4 things Bandura found that build this belief, the most powerful by far is what he called a mastery experience. A moment where you take on something real, get through it, and your brain registers. That happened. That moment becomes evidence, and your brain runs on evidence, not intention. Watching others succeed helps a little. Being encouraged helps a little. But those are borrowed. A mastery experience is yours. So when you're waiting to feel ready, you're waiting for something that can only come from the action you haven't taken yet. You're waiting for an outcome that requires the one thing you're withholding. The trap is completely invisible from the inside. Something triggers the need to act, a room, a blank page, a moment where someone's waiting for your response. Your mind immediately starts running predictions, detailed, vivid pictures of what could go wrong, not what could. And because the brain processes imagined threats almost the same way it processes real ones, those predictions feel like warnings, like useful information. Then comes the pause. It might last half a second. It might stretch into days. The pause feels like thinking, like careful consideration. But what it's doing is keeping you still while your brain searches for a certainty that doesn't exist yet. So you don't act. You delay. You tell yourself it's not the right time. And when that happens, something shifts. The anxiety drops. Your body relaxes. For a moment, it genuinely feels like the right call. But here's what your brain just learned quietly. The situation was dangerous. Avoiding it was the right move. That lesson stores. It reinforces. The next time a similar moment arrives, the warning comes faster. Then comes the reflection, the replay, the clearer version of what you should have done, visible now only because the pressure is gone. And you judge yourself with a sharpness that the moment didn't require. The loop runs again, a little tighter, a little more practiced. It doesn't repeat because something is wrong with you. It repeats because your brain has never been given evidence that the thing it feared wasn't actually that bad. It keeps issuing the same warnings because it has never been shown they're wrong. The obvious cost is clear: opportunities missed, things not started, words left unsaid. But the deeper cost is quieter. Every time the loop runs, hesitation, avoidance, reflection, something accumulates. Not in words, not consciously, but the pattern builds, and over time, it shapes how you see yourself. This is how avoidance works. When you step back from something because it feels threatening, your brain files that as confirmation. The situation was too much. You couldn't manage it. You didn't just skip a moment. You added to a record. And this is why the internal conflict gets louder over time, not quieter. On one side is your actual capability, the thinking, the awareness, the competence you carry privately. On the other is a growing pattern of not acting. The smarter and more self-aware you are, the more clearly you feel that contradiction, the sharper the frustration. You're not stuck because you don't know enough. You're not stuck because you're not ready. You're stuck because you haven't collected the proof yet. Without proof, your brain defaults to caution, because losing feels about twice as painful as winning feels good. It's protecting you from a threat it has never let you actually test. What changes this isn't more preparation. It isn't more time or better conditions. It's one real experience. Something small, completed, genuine. A single piece of evidence your brain can't argue with, because it actually happened. The experience doesn't need to be large. It needs to be real. Your brain doesn't require a major win. It needs one update. One moment that contradicts the story it's been running. You send a message. You don't give the perfect answer. You give an answer. You don't start the finished version. You start. The goal isn't to feel confident first. The goal is to collect one data point. Something that says, I did this. I got through it. And it wasn't what I predicted. There's something else worth knowing. Research on what's called the spotlight effect shows that people consistently overestimate how much others notice their mistakes. In one study, participants thought roughly half a room would remember something embarrassing about them. The actual number was closer to half of that. The judgment you're imagining is about twice as intense as what's actually happening. The audience in your head is much larger than the one in the room. If you want to start collecting that evidence today, not in theory, not when you feel ready, I put together a free 3-day workbook called Daily Micro Decisions for Introverts. It's built around exactly what we've been talking about. 3 days, one small decision each day, moving through awareness, quiet boundaries, and self-trust. No pressure, no overwhelm, just one thing per day that gives your brain something real to work with. The link is in the description. Confidence isn't something you arrive with. It's something your brain builds when you give it material to work with. Every time you act while still uncertain, the action produces a result. That result updates what your brain believes you're capable of. The next time a similar moment comes, the warning is a little quieter. Not because you're suddenly different, because now you have evidence. That's what real confidence is. Not the absence of doubt, not a personality trait. A private track record built slowly in moments that probably felt small at the time. It doesn't require you to become someone else. It doesn't require volume or performance or projecting something you don't feel. It's built in the moments you already face, by choosing to let something real happen instead of staying inside the prediction. Thinking moves inward. It circles. It returns to itself. Acting moves outward. It contacts reality. It produces the thing you've been waiting to feel. You don't lack confidence. You lack proof. Proof isn't a feeling that eventually arrives. It isn't something someone gives you. It's something you generate, one small, real, finished action at a time. The hesitation before you act isn't a signal that you're not ready. It's your brain telling you it hasn't seen this go well yet. The only way to change that is to act before you feel ready. Not by pretending the doubt isn't there, but by moving anyway. and letting what happens next become your evidence. You are not the loop. The loop is what happens when evidence is missing, and you are the one who creates it. You don't need to change who you are. You need to act differently in small moments and let those moments prove something to you. Now, once you start collecting that evidence, the next question becomes, where do you actually focus it? Because trying to build confidence everywhere at once is how the loop starts again. In the next video, we look at how introverts can apply the 80-20 rule to quiet confidence, finding the small number of moments that produce most of your growth and putting your energy there instead of spreading it thin. That's where the real shift happens. It's linked on screen now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you there.